All right. So thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Hallie, and I am the Community Development Representative at Alive Credit Union. If you have not heard of Alive Credit Union, we have been serving the Jacksonville community for the past 70 years. And we started out in the healthcare industry. So we were within the hospitals. We were founded by Blue Cross and Blue Shield employees. Now we are able to help everybody in our community, included our four-legged friends. So today I have with me Carrie McCord. She's going to be talking to us as well on how we can manage our pet finances. So Carrie, I know you are the veterinary practice manager over at Florida Vet Rehab. Do you mind telling us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. We currently, I manage just a rehabilitation hospital. So we don't do any gen med. We specialize in mobility. We do a lot of palliative care. I have 3 doctors, 18 staff members. We have underwater treadmill, acupuncture, a chiropractor. We do the fun stuff, I like to say.
Oh, fun. Yeah, it does sound like a lot of fun stuff. When you are doing that, do you see a lot of people come in who are using pet insurance, or do you see most people paying out of pocket or using a CARES card? I know that's very popular.
Yeah, care credit's very popular. Um, I think that insurance is more popular now. I wish it was even more popular than it is. Um, but it's something that we try to help clients with a lot, is trying to help them afford the best care for their pet.
We'll definitely be getting into more detail about that later, but for now, I want to introduce my team. And by team, I mean my pack. So I have over here next to my picture Pete the Sneak over there in his little criminal costume, which is very fitting. Hope and Oscar. I see you have two of your own. Do you mind introducing your
Yep.
fur babies?
Jax is the German Shepherd, and he's a rescue. And then Oreo is the black and white pitty, and she is a rescue as well from the Humane Society.
So I have rescues, you have rescues. I know that you know there's a lot of pop-up surprise illnesses that happen. Um, have you seen that within your own pet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's part of something that happens. Luckily, I have insurance on one of them and not the other, but my pups are older, and I got the insurance when they were older, which I can go over later why it's important to get it while they're younger.
Very cool. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I always start these things off with words of wisdom. So I love this quote from Kay Friedman, and that is, "Money can buy you a fine dog, but only love can make him wag his tail." Wow, that was a tongue twister. So today we're going to be going over budgeting pet expenses, how you can manage your veterinary bills, and then we're really going to get into the crux of pet insurance and pet financing. Then we're going to stay open for a little bit longer in case you have any questions that you'd like to bring to me or Carrie. If you have any questions, feel free to put them over in the chat. So this looks like a lot of information on this slide. As you can see, this is a formula of how you're going to create a budget. This would be the same that you would use for your own monthly budget or annual budget. But when it comes to your animals, it's a whole nother ballgame with dogs and cats, but even more so when you have horses, when you have goats, when you have all these things we have to think about. And if we don't, we can end up swiping a lot and ending up in debt. So to avoid that, it's important to have a budget and know what you're getting into ahead of time. So this is our formula. We're going to sit down, we're going to carve out some time, and we're going to list out all of our recurring expenses. Those are going to be weekly and monthly costs. It's also going to include annual fees because we can set them aside as we go month by month to pay for those things that we know are going to happen every year. Then we're going to list out all of our variable expenses. Those are going to be monthly or semi-monthly. And that's going to include miscellaneous. And miscellaneous can end up being a huge category, especially with your animals, bedding, toys, harnesses, crates. We'll get into more details on that. But don't throw everything into a miscellaneous, like, oh, well, it wasn't in the budget, it's miscellaneous, I'm just throwing it in there. Make sure you really put some thought into this. And then the third category is one that we all struggle to face, and that is unexpected expenses. So emergencies happen, and then there's eventualities. Unfortunately, our babies can't live forever. So we have to keep in mind what end of life care can look like, especially with our dogs and our cats and all creatures. So when you look at your recurring expenses, you're going to list out your regular vet visits. That's going to be periodic vaccinations, heartworm prevention, and flea and tick prevention. It's really important that you have that preventative care. Is that what you call it, Carrie? Preventative care?
Yeah.
So that you're not paying for major things. Heartworm prevention may seem like a lot of money, $100 or so here and there, but having an animal who gets heartworm and then working back retrospectively is thousands of dollars. Same with your vaccinations. When I adopted Oscar, he had kennel cough. It could have been prevented with a vaccine, and he didn't have it. So it ended up being a major issue. Next recurring expense that you know you're going to have every single month is nutrition, and making sure that you have a quality food, or if your vet has said you need this prescription diet, you may really need to budget for that. So build that in. Supplements included. So supplements can really add up. They can be expensive, but they last a long time and they really make our animals' lives better. So making sure that we are still able to provide them with that really necessary supplement to their diet without breaking the bank. And then you're always going to have some other care. Mine have to have grooming. I know, Carrie, you don't have grooming, but all different types of animals. Grooming is a whole other ball game. The same would go though if you had horses and you know that you have every certain amount of time you need to have them shoed, or et cetera, et cetera. Same with dental. Every once in a while, your animal's going to have dental care. So if you can really look at those as recurring expenses, you're going to be able to handle it. I did pull a study from Synchrony Bank, which is a finance company, and they found that the average annual cost of dog ownership can vary from $1,200 to $2,800. Chrissy over in the chat said, look at generic medications for pets. It's a lot cheaper. It is. So you can always work with your vet clinic to find that. I know, Carrie, you're really good about that, finding. Do you use GoodRx as well?
Yeah, we give out GoodRx cards when we have to send stuff to human pharmacy, regular pharmacies. But a lot of the pharmacies, like big ones, Costco, Sam's, Walmart, are starting to cover and carry pet specific medications, which is helpful.
Very cool. All right, so then you're working your way through this formula. You're going to have your variable expenses. So that's going to be fun money for things like treats, replacements for things like bedding, toys, treats. Sometimes you have to replace a kennel or crate. That can be a big cost up front. And then boarding, I have to have people come and watch my dogs when I go out of town. I don't board, but that is an extra cost. And then, of course, you'll have those emergency funds. So that's when we end up going to our vet friends. So I really love this Will Rogers quote. If you don't know who Will Rogers is, look him up. He's an amazing person, or was. So he says, personally, I have always felt that the best doctor in the world is the veterinarian. He can't ask his patients, what is the matter? He's just got to know. So when you're looking at a vet bill, it can be shocking. You can see it and go, oh. But I really want you to challenge your mind, to reframe it and think, I'm paying for an expert who can look at any animal, who studied all the animals and can look at them, not ask them what's wrong, and figure it out. So, Carrie, I'm going to really have to lean on you for understanding our bills, because I know vet clinics are businesses. So you have recurring expenses just like any other business: rent, electricity, gas, cleaning, admin, staff. sometimes people see like a cost for an x-ray for a pet can seem outrageous. But I know that you are creating the formula, right, of how you're going to bill for that based off of the machine's lifespan, the average cost, the training that it takes to learn how to use that equipment, the maintenance of the equipment.
Yeah.
Are there any other like, go ahead.
And per like if we were talking like billable hour, which is not something I super like to do because I think it's a very cold term. But if I'm really looking at a billable hour, I'm doing overhead, which is like rent, electricity, all those things. And then I'm looking at expertise. So is it like all my doctors and most of my therapy staff have additional training to specialize in what we're doing? Because I'm paying them more, I need to include that into the billable hour. And then any of the depreciations for equipment. So like the x-ray machine, I'm going to depreciate it over 3 years maybe. It'll last a lot longer than that, but I still need to include that equipment. So.
And then a lot of times, I don't think that people realize that when you do animal surgery, you're using human grade equipment. Is that true?
Sometimes. There's very special animal surgeries have really changed in the last 10 years probably. But because it says that it's for a canine or a feline, it's usually double what it is for human medicine. So there are, surgery for pets is expensive, especially if we're having hardware. It's specialized for dogs. It's usually has to be specialized for by weight, which is the same they do it as they do in human medicine. But again, it's just like anything else because it's for veterinarian versus human medicine. It's usually has an added cost to it.
I'm going to put you on the spot. So I hope that I'm not going to throw you through a loop. But how much
Okay.
would it cost, let's say, just to cast an animal for something like a prosthetic? Not saying the actual prosthetic, because I know that would vary based off of the animal. But if you were even going to have somebody come in, have the dog be molded, how much is
Um,
that?
Most companies now for specific orthotics and prosthetics include the cost of casting with the device. We
Cool.
actually just did a prosthetic for a golden who has a deformity on her limb. She only has 3 toes. She doesn't have a full paw pad. Her prosthetic was $1,900. And it's not, I do warn people it's not an easy fix. It usually takes, months and months of get the animal getting used to it. But included in that $1,900 was the casting. But she still has to pay to come in and have it casted by somebody like us that works directly with the company. So it adds up. The one we do the most is a knee brace because one of the big things that dogs do is tear their cruciate ligament, which is the same as an ACL in a human. Um, it costs probably right under $2,000 to get the brace, to do the casting, to do the device fittings with us, and to get them used to that leg or using that orthotic on that leg.
Wow. So it is a lot more than just meets the eye when you see that bill. Now, I will say we all live within a budget, right? We know what we can and cannot manage, and that's human. And there's nothing to be ashamed of with that. And there's nothing to feel uncomfortable about. So, my encouragement to anybody today or watching this replay is really ask questions prior about the veterinary care. What's the cost for this diagnostic? If it's something as small as a test, a bacteria, anything. Say, what's the cost for the diagnostic? And ahead of time, be honest about your financial position. That way, they can give the best care that they can that you can manage. And they can always say, this would be the best path to go. I know Dr. Mason over there at Florida Vet Rehab used to do this all the time. She'd say, this is what I think would be the best course, but this is what your dog really, really needs. And I think that it's important to ask those questions. We don't have to just swipe, especially if we don't have it. If we don't have it, let's not put ourselves in a position where we're hurting ourselves. Right. So Here it is. Carrie, this is going to be your
I'm
shining
excited.
hour, pet insurance. This is Lassie. This is an actual image of Lassie.
I
Did you
know.
know
I
Lassie was
honestly,
the
this is like
first
a new party
insured
trick
dog?
for me. I'm gonna be like, did you know the first insured dog was Lassie?
It was Lassie. So we're going to be going over and in depth about pet insurance. I know this has been everybody when I was polling, this is their biggest questions, and I'm going to kind of let you lead on this.
Yep.
Um, when it comes to pet insurance, there's a lot of different factors into what it costs and what it covers. There's so many different companies, there's payout limits, there's deductibles, there's reimbursement percentages. So let's go ahead and get into the crux of it. Again, I want to encourage you to use the chat if you have any questions. We'll try to get to them.
Yeah. So
So,
I do not work for pet insurance. I do work in the veterinary industry. I see the other side and the backside of pet insurance. What I can say is that the very most important thing is to make sure when you get a new pet and they're young, please pick up insurance. Um, please don't try to go and get insurance after they have illness. It will not be covered. It's a pre-existing condition, same as with humans. Um, there is a new website which I will put into the chat. It's called Policity Advisor. It is a way that you can get a pet quote, and it's just like car insurance. It has all of the insurance companies there. Um, the insurance companies that aren't on there are ones that aren't part of their formula yet. This is a new idea. It basically before this year, it was you just had to do your own research, which takes a really long time. And some of the names that Hallie gave are on the slide are the company that is doing the underwriting, but that's not actually what you're going to be looking for. You're going to be looking for Pets Best. You're going to be looking for Embrace. You're going to be looking for Pumpkin. MetLife has their own. FIGO has their own. Nationwide
Companion,
has
right?
their own. Sometimes it'll have a little bit of a different name. Um, so just keep that in mind. Hartville has their own insurance, and then there's another one called Fetch. What really matters is that you're looking for two things. Are you looking for something that covers routine care, or are you looking for something that covers emergencies, surgeries, injuries? And it just kind of depends on what happens. Um, yeah. So the higher payouts and the higher percentage that you get back is going to call for a higher premium. If I choose to do 90% payback reimbursement for something on a puppy, it's going to be $70 versus if I choose to do 70%, it's going to be $40. And that's it all depends on what breed your dog is, how old your dog is, and honestly, where you live. It's insurance. That's part of the deal. Um, the
So
advantage
why
to
would it
go ahead.
just choose the lowest premium? Why wouldn't I? Because that is really and truly, that's what a lot of people do. They go in and they choose just the lowest premium. Why would I not want to do that when it comes to actually being able to use it for
It
veterinary care?
depends on your financial situation. If you can afford to do a higher one, I would, because when your dog, who's right now a puppy, chooses, to tear a cruciate, that's a $5,000 surgery between here and Jacksonville, and there's only so many boarded surgeons that do it. If your dog needs an exploratory surgery and you have to go to Blue Pearl, that is, $4,000 and more. It just kind of depends. If you have the money, and it's within your budget, I would do a higher one. I chose a higher one for my pup, because it's within my budget and it has paid off in the long run. But lots of our clients just have the lower one. But if I'm paying for a $6,000, $7,000 surgery and I still get 70% back, that's a lot better than not getting any of it back.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. The annual limit is very important. If you have an annual limit, try not to set it super high, because what will happen is if your dog does get hurt, it will only start paying after you hit the 500, 750, 1,000. I have mine set at 500 because 500 is not a very big veterinary bill. Okay. Yeah.
All right, so deductibles. We all know what a deductible is.
Oh, that's what I
When
was.
I was looking around, you can have 100, 200, 500,000 deductible, just like with car insurance, just with healthcare insurance. I did find these were the only two that I could find, and I did actually use that same exact website for Trupanion and Trusted Pals. They were the only ones that offered a $0 deductible. And when I try to think of budgeting wise, if you can pay the higher monthly, but know that you don't have a safety net set up, then I would go for something that is going to have a zero deductible. The lower the deductible, the higher the premium, and the higher the deductible, the lower the premium. Do you have any insight onto deductibles or?
Just, keep in mind that if you like I said, I have mine set at 500. It makes it a little bit easier. Um, Also, when you're looking at different plans, I would be careful to choose a wellness plan. Most regular veterinarians will agree. They usually have like uh, a wellness plan or a wellness program. And it basically helps you budget for all of those expenses that Hallie brought up in the beginning. The vaccines, you're going to have, the heartworm, the blood work. It's usually easier to go ahead and sign up for that. Some of them will let you pay one chunk, or some of them will charge you monthly, but that kind of helps you spread your finances throughout 12 months versus having to just take hits when you go to the vet. Most of our clinics here in DeLand all offer it. I've actually noticed that they started offering, including like certain tiers of preventative, so like heartworm, flea preventative. So that can be a better option for you than adding it to the insurance. So just try to get all of your options before you sign up for stuff.
Definitely. And I really found it fascinating when I was playing around at Policity and trying to find policies that a French bulldog, who is a puppy, would be $63 more per month than a Chihuahua. So, what does breeds have to do with your premium?
Breed has to do with everything. Um, Frenchies have breathing problems because they're brachiocephalic. They have usually a spine degeneration. They have allergies sometimes. So basically, what pet insurance is doing, just like insurance for humans does, whether it be health insurance for us, car insurance, if you have a car type that gets in more accidents, like a sports car, is your insurance going to be higher? They're just using an algorithm to figure out the dogs that, I mean, insurance is a business. They are trying to make sure they're still profitable while providing this. And the way they do that is by figuring out the formula with the algorithm that's like a French bulldog is going to get hurt more often than a Chihuahua is. A German Shepherd's going to get hurt more often than a lab. It just kind of depends. All breeds have their health stuff. I would suggest looking into, if you want to get a purebred, looking into what that breed comes with, because you don't want it to be a surprise.
Definitely. All right. So, this one was everybody, I know everybody had no clue when I was talking about this. When I said, hey, what do you think about reimbursement percentages? They were like, what? I thought that like if I met my deductible, it would all be paid. So tell me a little bit about reimbursement percentages because I think that's a little bit unique.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about before. If you have a $7,000 knee surgery for your bull mastiff and you get 90%, well, getting 90% back of 7,000 is a lot nicer than getting 70% or no percent because you don't have any pet insurance. Um, Again, this just kind of falls within budget. If you have it in your budget to do something higher, it's just an extra security that you have. Um, a lot of our clients who use it for rehab basically use the money that they're getting back to go towards more rehab.
Awesome. I will say, like, this is my little bit for a live here now too, but you could go and look at any of your local credit unions and see if they offer this service. Um, a lot of times, a credit union can write a medical loan for your animal. So, like here at Alive, we have our own pet account. So, we have Healthy Paws Savings Club, and you can save just for that. So, if that helps you budget, if you're somebody who's like, I need a separate account for Fido, you can do that. And if you know, if you go in and something does happen and you don't have insurance and you need to have that surgery on your animal for them not to be in pain, reach out to Alive or your local credit union and say, hey, this is the situation. Can I talk to lending and see what I can do? Because you're going to be able to find lower interest rates going that way through a medical loan than swiping a card. And that's just always going to be the case. It's just underwritten in a different way. So, with
That's
that being
awesome.
said, we have our three main takeaways here. Number one, just follow the basic budgeting formula. Create your financial plan on a monthly and yearly basis. And then just kind of check back every once in a while. Make sure that you're staying true to what you can afford. If you know you're buying 2 boxes of cookies a month, first of all, your pet's going to be really fat. Don't tell Pete, but Pete is not allowed to surpass a certain amount of sweets per month, or he starts looking around.
Yeah.
But also, it's going to impact your budget. Preventative care is very important. Some things we can't prevent, like a disease or something like a cruciate tear. So, just making sure that we can avoid what we can. We're mitigating our own risk, right? And then insurance, research pet insurance, purchase it if it's going to benefit your financial situation. It's different for everybody. Some of us don't need that. A lot of us really do. And like Carrie said, even if it's a 70% return, at least it's better than zero. All
Also, pet
right. So,
insurance usually doesn't make you agree to a contract or like a length of time. You can cancel it usually at any time.
oh, awesome. Okay, cool. So if something changes in your budget, you can just
Yeah.
go back, call them, and
And
say, hey,
cancel.
sorry, kind of like a subscription service. All right. Well, with that being said, that is all the content we have for you today. If you have any questions, please drop them over in the chat. We'll hang out for a few more minutes here. And if you're in the Jacksonville area, come by and see me. I'll be at the Alive tent at the Mutt March next weekend at 10 a.m. And that's at the Jacksonville Humane Society. You can't miss it. It's huge.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Savannah.
Savannah. Thanks so much, Carrie. I will be sure to send you the link once we have it up on YouTube.
Yeah, awesome. And also, I do want to remind everybody that when they go to their veterinarian, just try to always try, once they've given you the treatment plan, then try to ask and let them know that you have that budget, like Hallie's talking about, to work within. I know that's what I do all the time. Um, that's people are like, I have this much money a month. Because a lot of people that come in to see us, or a lot of people in Florida, are on a limited budget. They're retired and they're just trying to do what's best. So,
Then I put my email address. Oh, whoops. Okay, hold on. It's alive, CU.COP. But I put my email address over there. We could definitely get together to put together a guide for something like this. Unfortunately, a lot of people, we don't think about our pets when we're budgeting and with our finances. Bye, Fran. Thanks for tuning in. So that's why we wanted to bring this forward, because it is a place where people struggle, unfortunately. We always want to take care of our pets first and foremost, but being able to manage that can be pretty difficult, especially when you have kids and you have other expenses, and everything right now is so expensive, groceries, gas. So just trying to bridge that gap. All right. I agree. All right. Well, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pop off. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in. You can catch the replay to this on our YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/Alive Credit Union. All right. Thank you. Y'all have a great day. Bye.